Hi, this is Monte with Solo YGO. Before we get into the video, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. We are doing a giveaway as well, so all you gotta do to qualify is answer the question of the day in the comments below. Today, my question for you will be, at their prime, which would you rather play or face? The Drytron Fairies or the Tri-Brigade Bird Up? So,
comments down below.
And with that, we're gonna get into probably one of the most toxic decks I've ever seen. Because not only is it prevalent in Master Duel, it is also prevalent in real life. Numerons. So, now, without further ado, we're going to go into the first monster of the deck. You are looking at Numeron Wall. So with this card is a quick effect to pitch this card, and you can add the Numeron field spell, or it is also an in-archetype battle fader. But of course you have to take damage first, so that always sucks. The next card, we are going to be running 3 of Planet Pathfinder. It's a normal summon that you contribute to get the field spell, which of course the whole deck revolves around the field spell. So you really have to see the field spell. Oh yeah, the field spell is a must in this deck. Without it, you're kind of screwed.
I imagine you play Terraforming.
Yes, I probably do, as you'll find out later. But continuing on. The next set of cards is where the deck gets really fun. We are running 3 of Thunder King, the Lightning Strike Kaijus. And there's a purpose for these we'll get into later. But as you know, as a Kaiju, tribute your opponent's monster, summon to their side of the field, get rid of some pretty big boss monsters like, I don't know, Chaos Angel. And then also on top of that, we will be running a second Kaiju, Jizukiru, the Star Destroying Kaiju. And if you notice a theme, they are all light monsters. We'll get into that later. But then we're going into the hand traps or anything. But these cards specifically, they can be interchanged with anything you really want to. They don't really matter as much. But for right now, I'm running Ghost Ogre, Effect Veiler, DD Crow, and 2 Ash Blossoms.
Is there a cross-out designator build?
Yeah, you could definitely run cross-out in this deck. To kind of stop you.
Run one of each. You like lights, right?
Yeah, you do like lights. First, only specifically Kaiju lights. Okay,
so Nibiru wouldn't matter for light?
Nope, not at all.
Why is it? Because they're machines? Or?
We'll get into that later.
All right.
I'll answer your question in a second.
Let me know.
All right. So outside of the monsters, we'll move on to the spells. And of course, spell-wise, of course, triple Numeron Network allows you to activate the effects of your Numeron Wall monster Xyz monsters without paying any cost. So you basically activate them without detaching any material off of your XYZ monsters, which is pretty good considering what they can do. But considering that I run 3, I also only run 2 Numeron Callings because I only run 2 of each monster in the extra deck. I found that running 3 can be a problem, especially because you don't have enough space for a lot of the extra cards to be running 3 of each. Next up, we'll add another field spell on top of this, Kyoto Waterfront, so we can add those little kaijus from deck to hand and cause problems. Exactly. And then of course, you mentioned earlier, we will add 1 terraforming into the list so we can get the Numeron Network or the Kyoto Waterfall, depending on which one we already have in hand.
Which is a good card.
It is a good card. And then for the searcher kind of draw cards, we are looking at 2 Pot of Prosperities and 1 Pot of Desires. Prosperity is nice because I can, pick which cards I don't want out of my extra deck, send them to the banished, and draw cards, or reveal cards that I want. Especially if I already have certain cards in hand, I'm looking for that one specific card. And then Desires is a last go-to ditch card to try to get what I need, especially. And now, to answer your question about the lights, a lot of people probably in this deck would run Limiter Removal because they are all machines. However, I run Leeching the Light. So with this, what I can do is I can give you the Light Kaiju, target it with this, or select, as the card says, the Kaiju that I just gave you, and boost all my Numerons by their attack. So, yes, so instead of 1,000 attack for Numeron starting, they are now 4,300 starting, and they only build up from there. And also, not once per turn.
What would you define this deck as? Rogue, Jank, Tier 2, Meta?
Definitely not meta. Jank sounds pretty accurate. Anti-meta kind of thing.
But it's a fun deck. Right?
Yes, it is, and I know a lot of people hate it on Master Duel because it's unless you draw the ash to stop it, it's kind of busted because everything stops before you can even Nibiru it.
Yeah.
So
makes sense.
And then of course, for more draw power, we have Memories of Hope. Draw cards equal to the number of Xyz monsters you control, and you are guaranteed at least 4 off of Numeron Network. So that's 4 draw cards. And then cards that kind of mess with your opponent a little bit, especially if they do have another monster after you kaiju them. We run 1 Change of Heart, back row decks, Labyrinth, Harvey's Feather Duster, and then of course more back row removal. We have the 2 Cosmic Cyclones, and then finally for traps we will have 2 Solemn Judgments, because if you do go first, you go into 1 monster and then you set these. So
seems pretty cool to me. That's 40 card list.
Yep, and it's pretty straightforward.
40 cards, love to see it.
Extra deck wise, I am short cards because for me, I don't really need anything else other than these. But you can feel free to add other of the number 3.
Because of prosperity now.
Yeah, and because of prosperity, you could run another of 1, 2, 3, just to kind of fill the deck, or you can throw honestly with anything you wanted to get rid of. But going into the extra deck for the standard list, we are looking at 2 number C1 Numeron Chaos Gate Sunyas. This card, when it's summoned on top of number 1, it will banish everything on the field, every monster on the field, correction. And then as long as Numeron Network is still on the field, on your next turn, it will summon itself out and deal damage to your opponent. So it's pretty good, and it does it by the number of all banished Xyz monsters. So if you're facing an Xyz deck, summon number 1, summon that, banish everything, and you can deal some pretty good amount of damage off of this. Then, of course, the next one's 2 number 1s, of course, and as you know, with Numerons, they like to double the attack of all Numeron monsters while they're all on the field. So having 4, you can crash them into like a 2,000 attack monster or even your own kaiju, and by the end of it, you're going to kill them because, yeah, they just keep doubling themselves. And next up, 2 number 2s, Numeron Gate Dive, or Devi, which again, as number 1 does, it will double its own attack as long as it does battle damage to a monster your opponent controls. And then 2 number 3s, also the same effect, will double their attack as long as...
So these, in theory, you can play 3 of them instead, or you should play, because we're playing prosperity.
As prosperity targets, yes, but Numeron Calling is the only real way to get these things out, and running 3 of them can be a little bit of a problem.
But that being said, if you ran 3, you go spend extra, right?
Yeah.
Probably lower your risk of hitting them.
Yeah, but extra is, I don't look at that as good as prosperity.
Just because you'd rather see the cards you want to see versus drawing extra.
Well, yes to that, but also at the same time, I don't want to risk getting rid of 3 or of 1 number. Like, I'd like to have at least 2 of each number wall monster.
Fair enough.
And then of course finishing off, we have number 4 Numeron Gate. Also does the same thing as numbers 1, 2, and 3. And then for your extra cards, especially going first, these are really good. You can summon out Finitrax Fortress Megaclops. He's a 4,000 Link 3 that requires 3 Xyz monsters, but he's unaffected by other monster effects except for Xyz monsters. And because you Link summon, he also makes it to where if you have another Xyz monster in the graveyard...
That's a big mother effer.
He is, and he's unaffected by anything that's not Xyz. 4K? Yes.
You have... What decks are you running 4K beaters these days? Nothing.
Not a lot, but really big problem cards like Big Eye can take him out pretty quickly just because he is weak to Xyz. So you're looking at stuff like trap tricks and
XYZ,
yeah. But if you're trying to throw at him with links and stuff like that, he's like, nah, I'm good, man. But he can't be destroyed by battle.
Spells or traps, right?
Yes.
Okay.
So he still can be impermed and stuff like that.
Mirror Force. Nobody's
Mirror Force. I mean, yeah, that is an option. And then lastly, but not least, this one might take a little bit more work to get to, but Firewall Dragon Dark Fluid. Being able to boost himself by 2,500 attack to get an Omni Negate. Not too bad.
Cool. You got anything more you want to say, or we're looking at good ratios for now?
I think the ratios are honestly fine. The hand traps and the solemn judgments, I mean, of course, you can swap out for whatever you want. This is a very versatile deck.
Yeah.
And those big decks that like to throw up some big old beat monsters, Numerons will take care of them pretty quick.
Sounds good. Sign us off.
Yeah, that's it. That's about it for Numerons. don't forget to answer the question of the day and like, comment, and subscribe.